In the next 1 hour, we will take you through the history of India since its formation as a separate physical entity 140 million years ago. It will be useful for people who are preparing for competitive exams such as civil services. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe to help many others who are aspiring for jobs. More than 140 million years ago, India was a part of a large supercontinent called Gondwana, which was made up of today's global south including Africa, South America, Antarctica and Australia. But it slowly began to drift away from the mainland. After 20 million years from the drift, India broke off from the supercontinent and started its northward journey towards Eurasia. On its route, it left Madagascar and Seychelles behind. The movement of the massive landmass over Reunion hotspot set off a volcanic activity that started the creation of what we now know as the Deccan Plateau. About 65 million years ago, an asteroid banged into the Earth's atmosphere hitting Mexico. Its impact was felt in India, which set off massive volcanoes in Deccan. The dust spewed by the asteroid's impact and the release of humongous amounts of sulfur dioxide by Deccan volcanoes threw Earth into the Cold Age, leading to the mass extinction of life forms on the Earth including dinosaurs. After 15 million years, India attached itself to the Eurasian plate, forming the Great Himalayas beginning from Hindu Kush in Afghanistan to Arakan Yoma in Burma. It also created the world's highest tableland, Tibet. As the Earth recovered from the twin impact and life sprung back, civilizations gradually developed in different regions. In India, a unique civilization started developing in the Indus River Valley about 7,000 years back. It was a sophisticated civilization with well-laid cities and buzzing with trade and commerce. But it declined 5,000 years back as summer rain became uncertain. After the Indus civilization, people shifted to a village-based lifestyle which is popularly known among historians as Vedic Age. Gradually, Indian civilization shifted from the Indus-Saraswati region to the Gangetic plains. The use of iron increased farm output, while a higher commercial activity led to the setting up of new cities, which was known as the era of 16 Mahajanpadas, which are 16 kingdoms formed around 16 major cities. During the Mahajanapada era, north and south were divided by a large Dandakaranya forest in the rugged Deccan region from the Godavari to Krishna rivers. While the Mahajanapadas were in the north, the south had Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas, having a flourishing external trade with Europe. The era of large empire began in around 500 BCE when Magadha conquered Angar and subsumed it within its territory. Gradually, Magadha expanded its kingdom, ending several old Mahajanpadas. On the religious plane, two new religions, Buddhism and Jainism, the most peaceful ones in the world, formed, offering an alternative to traditional Vedic religion. When Alexander of Macedonia arrived in India, Magadha was a large empire that could send shivers down the spines of Greek soldiers. A teacher at Takshashila University, Chanakya, wasn't, however, happy. He wanted to build an even stronger empire that could protect India from foreign invasions. Through a web of alliances and machinations, he succeeded to establish the Mauryan Empire headed by his student Chandragupta, who expanded his empire from Bactria, Uzbekistan, and Gandhara, Kandahar, in the northwest to River Kaveri in the south. The Mauryan Empire reached its peak under Ashoka's rule, but his pacifist policy sowed the seeds of its disintegration. After the death of Ashoka, his empire broke into several parts. While the traditional Chola Chera Pandya trio ruled the land south of Kaveri, Andhra Satavahana dynasty dominated the southern peninsula between Narmada and Kaveri rivers. Pushyamitra Shunga killed the last Mauryan emperor and set up his own Shunga empire in northern India, while Indo-Greeks held sway in the Takshashila region. Shungas tried their best to stop Indo-Greeks from entering Gangetic plains. But they couldn't stop them for long. Indo-Scythians or Sakas made deep inroads into India proper, including today's Rajasthan and Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh till Mathura. The Satvahans, however, protected the southern peninsula, which comprised today's Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka, from foreign invasions during the 500-year-long turbulence that started after the end of the Mauryan Empire. The traditional southern trio continued its domination in the land south of Kaveri unaffected from the northern headwinds. After nearly over 100 years of fragmentation of Indian polity dominated by Kushnas and Indianized western satraps in the northwestern region, the Gupta Empire was established. Considered to be the Golden Age, the empire unified northern and western regions and it flourished with peace and prosperity. The southern Deccan Peninsula, however, got fragmented. The Vakatakas ruled the Deccan Plateau till Tungabhadra, Abhira were in Malwa region, and Kadambas held their sway in today's Karnataka. In the south of Kaveri River, the rule of the traditional trio ended, giving rise to a new dynasty called Kalabhra. From Kanchi, Kalabhras ruled Tamil Nadu and Kerala for 300 years. Kidarites or Hunas from Samarkand, who claimed to be the successors of the Kushan Empire, tried to intrude into India. They had become a constant threat to the Gupta Empire, disrupting its trade and commerce with the Roman Empire. After several decades of pursuit by Hunas, internal attacks by Pushyamitras from south of Narmada and succession issues, the Gupta Empire got weakened and disintegrated into several smaller kingdoms. In post-Gupta India, the only power of note was the Chalukyas in Deccan. In the south of the Kaveri River, Kalabhra's rule ended. Pallavas came into prominence and older dynasties such as Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas have re-emerged. Another branch of Huns called Alcone Huns, who replaced Kidarites in Central Asia, demolished 1,000 Buddhist monasteries in Takshashila, from whose impact the ancient center of learning never recovered. Alcone Huns overran Indian territory till the end of the present Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. But they were defeated by an alliance of smaller kingdoms led by Malwa king Yashodharman. After the victory, Yashodharman reigned supreme in the north in his lifetime. The south was relatively calm with stable empire like Chalukyas, Pallavas, Cheras and Pandyas. In the 7th century, Harshavardhana of Pushyabhuti dynasty in Haryana built an extensive empire in the north spanning today's Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Bihar, Jharkhand, and Bengal. This is the last Hindu empire in North India before the advent of the Muslim rulers. In the peninsula, Chalukyas and the Pallavas were fighting for supremacy. During the rule of Harshavardhana, a new empire rose on India's west, whose followers were motivated to spread their wings with religious zeal. Within a few years, Arabs swamped Persia and a part of Africa and formed an empire called an Islamic Caliphate. For the next 100 years, Arabs were busy with internal dissensions. The first Arab incursion in India was reported at Sindh in 649, but it didn't prove helpful. After the death of Harshavardhana, the north was again splintered. But after a few years, Yashovarman of Kannauj held the fort. However, as Persia capitulated and internal dissensions more or less in control, the Arabs entered India by occupying Sindh in 711. After the death of Yashovarman and Kashmir king Lalitaditya, Gurjara Pratihas gained ascendancy in North India. Rashtrakutas replaced Chalukyas as the overlords of central and western India. In the south, Cholas entered power games once again. Pallavas and Cheras held on to their sway. In the east, the Pala dynasty consolidated their territory. In the northwest frontier, Muslim kingdoms were formed in Sindh and Multan, while Turk Shahis in Kabul remained the only vestige of Indian civilization in the border region. Between 724 and 810, Arabs made a series of attempts to occupy India, but several kingdoms successfully mounted a strong resistance to them. In the north, Nagaptar of the Pratihara dynasty defeated a major Arab expedition in Malwa. From the south, Vikramaditya II sent his general Avnizanshra Pulkeshin, who defeated the Arabs in Gujarat. Later in 776 CE, a naval expedition by the Arabs was defeated by the Sindhwa naval fleet under Agguka I. The Arab defeats led to an end of their eastward expansion in India, which later resulted into the overthrow of Arab rulers in Sindh and the establishment of local Muslim dynasties Sumras and Sammas. In the north, Arabs attempted to expand into Punjab but they were defeated by Kashmir king Lalitaditya. The Buddhist Turk Shahis, which came to power in Kabul and Gandhara, successfully resisted Muslim invasion from Central Asia for 250 years. When they failed, Hindu Shahis supported by the Gurjara Pratiharas fought the attempts of Muslim rulers from Samarkand to invade India. For the next 100 years, India was dominated by three empires. The Gurjara Pratihara in the north, the Rashtrakuts in the south, the Palas in the east. While they were fighting with each other by launching preemptive strikes to keep rivals in check, the Muslim power in Central Asia was consolidating and threatening the only Hindu outpost, the Hindu Shahi kingdom, in Kabul and Kandahar. The Gurjara Pratihas witnessed a golden age under Mihra Bhoja. His empire was prosperous, Arabs were dealt with by Hindu Shahis, and Rashtrakutas suffered loss of territory under their not-so-aggressive emperor Amoghavarsa. However, Bhoja's death sparked internal squabbling for the throne. The Rashtrakuts, wary of the new Gurjara Pratihara monarch Mahipalai stabilizing his rule, launched a preemptive attack in 916 and sacked Kanyakubar, now known as Kannauj, severely damaging the power and prestige of imperial Pratihas. In the next 2 decades, the bond between Gurjara Pratiharas and feudatories weakened. In 940, the Rashtrakutas defeated Kannauj once again. This attack was fatal and almost demolished the power of Kannauj. Its feudatories in Rajasthan, Gujarat, Malwa and Punjab became de facto independent, and kept their allegiance to imperial Pratihas merely for the namesake. In the south, Rashtrakutas were supplanted by its feudatory the Chalukyas of Kalyani. The Cholas strengthened themselves by defeating Pandyas. While a new ruler Jata Choda Bhima emerged to dominate most of the east coast, he was defeated through internal dissensions backed by the Cholas. The downfall of Gurjara Pratiharas in the north and the Rashtrakutas in the south ends the ancient epoch in Indian history and heralds the medieval period, which is marked by splintered political power in India and Islamic conquests into Indian heartland. The rise of a new power in Ghazni under its new slave ruler Sabuktigam and the waning power of Gurjara Pratiharas changed the dynamics of India's western frontier. The Hindu Shahis were now left to fend for themselves as no support was expected from the Indian heartland. From 988 to 1001, 3 battles were fought between Hindu Shahis and Ghazni rulers, 2 by Sabuktigam and the final one by his son Mahmud. Hindu Shahis lost all the battles, which allowed Ghazni to occupy the entire Indian land till western banks of the Indus River. By 1008, Mahmud defeated the last Hindu Shahi ruler in Lahore and extended his border till river Satluj. In the heartland of India, Gurjara Pratihas lost all its control over their feudatories and the northern empire gave way to several independent kingdoms in Rajasthan, Awadh, Bundelkhand, Gujarat and Malwa. The new major kingdoms were Chahamanas of Shakambhari, Chauhans of Ajmer, Chulukyas of Gujarat, Chandelas of Jejakabukti, Bundelkhand, Paramaras of Mandapa Durga, Mandu, and Gahadawala of Kanyakubar, Kannauj. But none of them as glorious or powerful as the erstwhile empire like Pratiharas in the north or Rashtrakutas in the south. The south, however, was peaceful and remained prosperous. The Chalukyas of Kalyani ruled most of the land that lay south of Vindhyas, emerging as the largest empire in India. The Cholas grew in power by installing puppet regime in Andhra and having a friendly regime in Kalinga. Chola king Rajaraja pushed back his border with Chalukyas to Tungabhadra. He strengthened Chola naval power to acquire northern Lanka, Lakshadweep and Maldives Islands. The east was also stable with the Pala Empire standing strong in Bengal. In 1015, Mahmud of Ghazni sought to extend his rule further into India. His first target was Kashmir, but inclement weather forced him to abandon the siege and proceed towards Kannauj, which had been the imperial capital of northern India. When he arrived at Kannauj, it was a pale shadow of its ancient glory. Its ruler submitted without any fight. Having heard of riches in Mathura, he led his army into the holy town of Krishna. He destroyed thousands of temples and smelted golden idols. The main golden idol yielded 8,300 miskals or 35 kilograms of gold. He went back to Ghazni with a booty which was carried on 100 camels. After a few years, Chandala ruler attacked Kannauj and killed the last Gurjara Pratihara ruler for accepting the suzerainty of an Islamic ruler, erasing the last vestiges of imperial history. It drew Mahmud back into India, when he subdued several kingdoms. For the first time, he used firearms such as naphtha-laden projectiles in India. When he heard of the importance of Somnath temple, he destroyed it and looted its wealth. While on his return journey, a Hindu took revenge on Mahmud by misguiding his army to pass through the Thar desert, in which the majority of his army men died out of hunger and thirst. Unlike other Islamic conquests that will come into India later, Mahmud of Ghazni did not install any Muslim governors for defeated territories and allowed their incumbent rulers to function under his suzerainty, which allowed Hindu character to the Indian polity for another 150 years. In the south, Rajaraja Chola's son Rajendra took Chola power to its high point. He became the only Indian monarch to expand his territory overseas through naval expeditions to parts of Burma and the Malay Peninsula, which is now under Malaysia and Indonesia. He launched a military expedition along the east coast and defeated kings of Orissa and Bengal, bringing the entire coastline of Bay of Bengal under his domination and thus renaming the eastern sea as the Chola Lake. 3 years after he plundered Somnath, Mahmud of Ghazni died of malaria in 1030. In the next 10 years, his sons fought with each other. They lost most territories in Persia and Central Asia to the Oghuz Turks Seljuk Empire. The Seljuks were happy with ruling over areas west of Hindu Kush and left territory that lay east of Hindu Kush to Lahore to Ghazni. However, in the next 10 years, the Ghazni Empire collapsed. Since Seljuks were not interested in India and Ghoris were still not a major power, India was spared of Muslim threat for the next 125 years. As the north had multiple kingdoms, they began the old game of jostling with each other for supremacy. Of 4 major kingdoms, Chandelas were the first to fall out of the race. Paramaras in Malwa region and Chahamanas from Rajasthan emerged as great military powers. The Gahadwalas of Kannauj, Kalachuris of Chedi, and the Chalukyas of Gujarat were major powers with immense prosperity. In the south, the Chalukyas of Kalyani and Cholas were preeminent powers with river Krishna as their frontier. But Chalukyas of Kalyani and Paramaras of Malwa were locked in one-upmanship for land between the river Godavari and river Narmada, replacing the feud that existed previously between erstwhile empire of Rashtrakutas and Gurjara Pratiharas. The Paramara kingdom, which was weakened by the invasions of southern Chalukyas, suffered a blow when the rulers of Gujarat and Chedi jointly attacked it. The twin attack led to its virtual downfall, leaving central India without any major power and allowing Chahamanas of Rajasthan to emerge as a de facto preeminent power in the north. The south was, however, stable. As the southern frontier was peaceful, Chalukya Vikramaditya led a northern expedition to reclaim their supremacy similar to Rashtrakuts. None of the northern kingdoms, which were already weak, could stop his strike and he reached Kannauj unopposed. He occupied it symbolically and went on to attack East India's Pala Empire, the only remnant of ancient India. Vikramaditya defeated the Pala Empire, which was already weakened by strikes of Kalachuris of Chedi. The defeat pushed the empire's frontier further east and the new kingdom of the Sena dynasty, from Karnataka, was established in the Radha region which corresponds to today's Kolkata. After the northern expedition, the Chalukyas of Kalyani emerged as the supreme power in India. However, internal strife between Vikramaditya and his jealous elder brother Someshwar applied brakes on the Chalukyan military overdrive. Though Vikramaditya overcame the power tussle, it strengthened his feudatories like southern Kalachuris, Kakatiyas of Warangal and Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra, Mysore. Though they were loyal to Vikramaditya, his successors could not live up to his name. Kakatiyas revolted by establishing a new kingdom in Warangal. Hoysalas declared independence, while Kalachuris occupied Kalyani to end the western Chalukya dynasty. The Cholas on the other hand suffered decline after the death of Rajendra Chola's son Rajadhraja in 1052. Though the Cholas lost Vengi, its northern dependent in Andhra, it got back its influence by supporting Chalukya's Vikramaditya during his power tussle with his brother Someveshwar. However, having no main line of successors from Rajaraja, the Great, Kulathinga, who was the son of Chola princess and eastern Chalukyan prince, became the Chola emperor. However, lacking the aggression of Rajaraja's line, the Chola Empire failed to play a role commensurate with its status as the largest power of the time in India. By 1175, Muhammad of Ghori and his brother established themselves well entrenched in India's western frontier and set out on the eastern expedition. His first target was Gujarat, but having crossed the desert, his army was thoroughly exhausted. The Ghori army was defeated in Gujarat. After 11 years, Ghori attacked India through the ancient Khyber Pass. A confederate army of Rajput kingdoms led by Prithviraj Chauhan faced Ghori and defeated him. After his victory, Prithviraj's relations with other kingdoms worsened and he neglected military preparedness after the sacking of his minister. When Ghori reappeared on the banks of the Indus after 1 year, northern India failed to put up a united front. Though Prithviraj faced the aggressor, Ghori played foul and attacked in the night, routing the defendant's troops. Unlike Mahmud of Ghazni, Ghori appointed his representatives as the sultans of Delhi for his new territories in India, heralding a new era of Muslim rule in Indian history. Later, he dismembered several Hindu kingdoms, expanding Delhi Sultanate as a preeminent power in the north. After Ghori was assassinated in 1206, the Delhi Sultanate severed its ties with Ghoris. Delhi Sultanate's first Sultan Qutbuddin Aibak could be considered as the real founder of Muslim power in India. He neutralized the Rajput threat in the north. Native kingdoms in Rajasthan, Awadh, Bundelkhand, Malwa and Gujarat were no longer in position to raise the banner of revolt for some time. During his rule, Muslims got their greatest prize, Bihar and Bengal. These were peaceful regions with large tracts of fertile land irrigated by the Ganga River and could offer a steady source of revenue to Delhi to deal with explosive Rajput kingdoms in the north and the west. In spite of the prowess shown by the Pala Empire in ancient India, Bihar and Bengal were least unprepared to handle Muslim threat. A zamindar of two villages, Ikhtiaruddin Muhammad Bakhtiar, overran Bihar and burned down centuries-old universities and Buddhist monasteries in Bihar. Later, his 18-horse raid party gate-crashed undeterred at the palace of the Sena king, forcing the king to flee for safety. Internal intrigues and threat of marauding army of Chengiz Khan kept Delhi Sultanate less stable, and Delhi had seen 11 sultans in 100 years, giving an average of less than 10 years. The instability kept the Delhi sultans away from the south. The kingdoms, south of the Narmada river, was safe. The Yadava dynasty ruled the land between rivers Narmada and Krishna, more or less current Maharashtra. Kakatiyas ruled the area that corresponds to Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Hoysalas ruled land that lay south of river Krishna. The Chola Empire's downfall started after its shock defeat at the hands of Pandyas in 1215. The loss resulted in several revolts, which gradually forced the Chola rule to end by 1279. The Pandyas replaced Cholas in the Tamil region. With this, the last remnant of India's classical age ceased to exist. The rise of Alauddin Khilji, a highly ambitious nephew of Sultan Jalal-ud-Din Khalji, was the highlight of the 13th and 14th centuries in India. As a governor of Kara, he made a surprise raid on Devagiri, Maharashtra. The Yadavas, who were caught unaware, failed to put up a stiff resistance. Alauddin defeated them and collected huge booty. He used the Devagiri treasure to fund his plan to dethrone his uncle, similar to the strategy employed by Mahmud Ghazni around 200 years ago. After 14 years, Alauddin's paramour Malik Kafur hazardingly convinced the Sultan for a new southern military expedition. He turned Kakatiyas of Waramal and Hoysalas of Dwarasamudra into vassal states and expanded Alauddin Khalji's empire till Kaveri, something no other king had ever ruled after Ashoka. Kafur raided Madurai of Pandyas too, but its ruler fled without a fight. The Delhi army raided the city but returned back without getting the Pandya to accept the vassal status. The Pandya ruler returned to Madurai after the Delhi army left and made the Tamil Nadu area escape from being a part of the Alauddin Khalji Empire. In the north, Alauddin's atrocities were more pronounced. He dismembered several kingdoms and forcibly married several royal women. He, however, should be credited for protecting India from several raids of barbaric Mongols. Alauddin, however, died early at the age of 49 due to some illness. Of his two sons, Mubarak Shah established himself in the power. His infatuation for his uterine brother Khusrau Khan, believed to be a former Hindu, proved to be his weakness. Though Khusrau Khan played a key role in eroding the power of Kakatiya and Hoysala dynasties, he got the Sultan killed in a palace intrigue, ending the line of Alauddin Khalji. He becomes the Sultan, but the loyalists of Khalji kills him within 2 months. Ghiyath al-Din Tughlaq, the founder of the Tughlaq dynasty, succeeds Khusrau Khan, the exterminator of the Khalji family. However, within 6 years, he was killed. His son Muhammad bin Tughlaq became Sultan. Muhammad bin Tughlaq further expanded his empire by ending the southern dynasties. His inconsiderate policy decisions created unrest among people. His decision to shift the capital to Devagiri or Daulatabad created another Muslim power center in the south. His policy of Hindu persecution resulted in the creation of the Vijayanagara kingdom by Harihara Rayar and Bukka Rayar, which insulated southern India from Muslim powers for nearly 270 years. A few years later, Muslim nobles in Devagiri or Daulatabad revolted against Muhammad bin Tughlaq for appointing a low-born man Aziz Himar as governor. Later, they defeated the Delhi army and declared independence of territory south of Narmada as Bahmani Sultanate. The emergence of Vijayanagara kingdom, which extends up to river Krishna, and Bahmani Sultanate controlled the land between the river Krishna and the river Narmada. a twin power scenario prevalent in the south throughout history. At the close of the 14th century, Timur invaded North India and ransacked Delhi, which had mountains of bodies piled up in Delhi, which could not recover from its effect for the next 100 years. Many regions which rejected Delhi's overlordship include Gujarat, Punjab, Awadh and Mewar. Due to these regions breaking away, the Delhi Sultanate shrunk significantly and weakened. In 1413, after the death of the last Tughlaq ruler, Timur appointed Khirs Khan as the new Delhi Sultan, thus establishing a new Sayyid dynasty in Delhi. In the next 30 years, 3 rulers changed in Delhi and their reign was listless. While the north was in political turmoil, religious syncretism was underway. Several religious personalities emerged from Hinduism, who defied ritualistic practices to allow devotees connect with God through simpler ways of chanting His name or singing in His praise. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Orissa, and Kabir and Vallabhacharya in Uttar Pradesh were propagating their views on God. While they were reforming Hinduism, another guru arose in Punjab, Guru Nanak, who would set out to establish a new religion, the youngest one in India, Sikhism. His teachings revolve around oneness of God and include best practices of both Hinduism and Islam. The religion was preliminary pacific and aimed at discovering oneself to connect with God through service. In the south, Vijayanagara Empire expanded itself to cover the entire land between River Krishna and the southernmost tip of Kanyakumari. The rulers of Vijayanagara and Bamani used to fight for the control of Raichur Doab that lay between the River Krishna and Tungabhadra. While both kingdoms flourished economically, Vijayanagara became the largest empire in India and a safe haven for classical Hinduism in the country. The Lodhi dynasty came to power in Delhi in 1451. 3 sultans ruled Delhi in 75 years. By the turn of the new century, however, Rajputs regained striking power. They rallied around Rana Sangar of Mewar, and combined Rajput forces defeated Ibrahim Lodi, the last ruler from his dynasty in Delhi. When Daulat Khan, the governor of Punjab region, heard about Ibrahim Lodi's plan to strip him of his post, he invited Babur to invade Delhi, which was the possession of his ancestor Timur. Babur, who couldn't establish his rule in Samarkand, borrowed troops from Persia and Turks and attacked Delhi. The use of smaller artillery helped Babur to beat Lodhi's exceptionally large army. Later, he also defeated a combined Rajput army led by Rana Sangar, which firmly established Mughal rule in India. In the south, the Bamani Sultanate broke into 5 kingdoms: Nizam Shahi of Ahmednagar, Qutub Shahi of Golconda, Hyderabad, Barid Shahi of Bidar, Ahmad Shahi of Berar, Adil Shahi of Bijapur. The Vijayanagara Empire on the other hand grew prosperous. It became the Indian kingdom to establish contact with European power the Portuguese and use their military expertise. In the north, Babur stabilized Mughal presence in India but did not have enough time to make any worthwhile contributions. He died in 1530. His son Humayun faced revolts and turned wanderer. But when he finally got back his kingdom from Sikandar Suri, he died soon after in an accidental fall. His minor son Akbar was declared his successor. In the south, Vijayanagara Empire flourished economically and militarily. Deccan sultans were no match to their imposing neighbors' might. The prosperity of Vijayanagara reached its zenith under Krishnadeva. The Vijayanagara Empire pushed Deccan sultans into existential crisis under Rama Raya, the successor and son-in-law of Krishnadeva Raya, who played Deccan sultans against each other. Worried over their future, Deccan sultans combined their army to deal with Vijayanagara. Internal sabotage by 2 Muslim generals of Rama Raya ended the glorious epoch of Vijayanagara Empire prematurely. Rama Raya was beheaded, his capital Hampi was plundered. Rama Raya's brother left the battlefield with a contingent of troops beyond Kaveri to regroup. Though the Vijayanagara rule continued to rule Mysore, Tamil Nadu and some parts of Kerala from Penukonda, it became a pale shadow of its past as feudatories became more powerful, presenting an image of confederacy rather than an empire. In the north, Akbar consolidated his hold by winning over Rajputs either by integrating them into his administration or subduing them on the battlefield. Except for a few Rajput rulers like Maharana Pratap, most rulers became a part of the Mughal administration. Akbar's strategy ended in 800-year-long fight between Muslim invaders and Rajput kings and gave a strong foundation to the Mughal Empire. Having secured the northern theatre, Akbar started to focus on the south. After an initial defeat, the Mughals managed to occupy Berar and Ahmednagar, the northernmost Deccan Sultanate. The Mughal Empire remained stable and prosperous under Jahangir and his son Shah Jahan. Territorially, they faced irritants in Kabul, but steadily made inroads into the south by extracting tribute from Bijapur and Golconda. Further south, the Naika dynasty in Madurai, one of the feudatories of Vijayanagara kingdom, became more powerful and virtually independent of the central authority. During the reign of Jahangir and his son Shah Jahan, the Mughal relations with the Sikhs deteriorated. While Akbar appreciated the work of Sikh gurus, Jahangir began to see them as a threat. In the last 100 years, Sikhs have become a major organized social group in Punjab, a region which can influence Mughal Empire's two important cities of Delhi and Lahore. The trigger for imperial action against the Sikhs was Guru Arjan's blessing to Prince Khusrau, who had rebelled against Emperor Jahangir. After Khusrau was defeated, Jahangir got Guru Arjan imprisoned and asked him either to accept Islam or die. The Guru did not accept Islam, so he was executed. The execution of Guru Arjan was the turning point for the Sikhs, as the next Guru, Guru Hargobind, began the militarization of Sikhs, making them a martial class. The advent of Aurangzeb as the Mughal emperor unsettled the stability that Akbar introduced in the country. Aurangzeb's policy of territorial expansion brought the entire country under rule, just the third time ever in history after Mauryas and Alauddin Khilji. But his entry into the south set off another wave of resistance to Mughal rule. It was led by Marathas. The Maratha resistance was initially led by Shivaji, who mastered guerrilla warfare. His greatness lies in the fact that he managed to establish a new kingdom with motley resources, defying the world's largest economy that India had become under Aurangzeb. The Maratha resistance forced Aurangzeb to spend most of his time in Deccan, virtually making Ahmednagar his capital. If he had not expanded his empire to the south, probably the Mughal Empire could have survived longer. Weakened by constant battles, the Mughal Empire got weakened. After his death, Marathas under Peshwa occupied Maharashtra, Gujarat and most of central India, adding to the list of empire that the south weakened and finished in the north. By the time of Aurangzeb, Sikhs emerged as an excellent marital class, which made Mughals and nearby Rajas worried. They tried to prevent the growth of Sikhism by deploying various means. The persecution of Sikhs by Mughals increased further in the reign of Farrukhsiyar. The final blow to Mughal rule in India was given by Afghanistan ruler Nadir Shah, who plundered Delhi. After the defeat, several Mughal governors such as the ones in Hyderabad and Bengal became virtually free of Mughal control. The decline of Mughal Empire allowed the Marathas to emerge as the preeminent power in the country, nearly 900 years after Rashtrakutas played a similar role in the national polity. Unlike centuries-long limelight that Rashtrakutas hogged in ancient India, this glory of Marathas remained short-lived. The Marathas were defeated by Afghanistan's Ahmad Shah Abdali, severely diminishing its power projection. As Lahore was under Abdali's rule, Sikhs bore the brunt of his persecution, which later on forced them to set up a kingdom. The lack of central authority forced every ruler to protect their turf on their own. Some rulers like Hyder Ali, who had grown up ranks, were capable of doing so. But those who never faced the battlefield like the successors of the first Nizam needed some support. French Governor Dupleix realized this requirement and offered his services, becoming one of the most influential Europeans in India. Confident of its influence with native powers, the French attacked and occupied English settlement in Madras as part of Anglo-French War in Europe. Though they withdrew after the intervention of Nawab of Arcot, the English realized the importance of political power and backed Muhammad Ali against his rival Chanda Sahib. Chanda Sahib ended the rule of Madurai Naika in 1736 and established himself as the Nawab of areas of central and southern Tamil Nadu, bringing this region under direct Muslim rule for the first time ever. On the request of someone, on the advice of the British, to help an old Hindu Madurai Naika kingdom, the Marathas arrived in Tamil Nadu to weaken Chanda Sahib. The English joined forces with the Marathas to defeat Chanda Sahib, who was supported by the French. The result was obvious. Chanda Sahib cannot face the Maratha might. Muhammad Ali, who was backed by the British, became the Nawab of Arcot, giving the English East India Company its first taste of power. After the French attacks, the British sought to raise fortifications. Having been dealing with the Mughal emperor's court directly, the British failed to accord required heft to Bengal Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowla. The Nawab opposed fortifications, but the British insisted that they faced French threat and required fortifications. The British joined hands with Mir Jafar and local bankers to depose the Nawab. But Siraj-ud-Dowla jailed 100 British officials and captured Calcutta. Incensed over this, the British ordered reinforcements from Madras under Robert Clive. Arcot Nawab Muhammad Ali showed his gratitude to the English for elevating him as Nawab by funding his Bengal expedition. Robert Clive defeated Siraj-ud-Dowla and established the English East India Company as one of the major powers in India. Other powers being Marathas, Hyder Ali, and Nizam. After Bengal and Carnatic firmly under its control, the graph of British power grew steeply. It outmaneuvered French in Hyderabad and reduced the Nizam as its dependent. It used one native power against the other for its benefit. By 1779, native powers realized duplicity of the British East India Company. The Nizam of Hyderabad proposed to the Marathas an anti-British confederacy to overthrow the British from India. Hyder Ali also through his emissary sought similar help against the British. While the northern kings fought Muslim invaders the most in 7th century to 15th century, the responsibility to fight the British fell on rulers in the south of Vindhyas such as Marathas, Nizam and Mysore. An influential Maratha minister Nana Fadnavis in consultation with key generals drew up a quadrilateral anti-British confederacy involving Marathas, Nizam of Hyderabad, Hyder Ali of Mysore and Bhonsles of Nagpur. The plan assigned specific action for each member, which must be implemented by all at once so as to paralyze the British and throw them out of India. As per the plan, the Marathas would attack Bombay and Surat. Nizam would prevent the communication between Calcutta and Madras by blocking the Vijayawada route. Hyder Ali should attack Madras. Ahead of time, the Bhonsles of Nagpur should go to Puri for collecting Chauth and Sardeshmukhi from Orissa. And the attacks are activated elsewhere. The Bhonsles should target Fort William in Calcutta and lay it to waste. The confederacy was a great idea. If it was implemented as designed, India would have gotten free of the British in 1779 itself and denied the British an engine to turn into the global superpower. And the world would have been different from what it is now. But it did not happen. The Bhonsles of Nagpur proved to be a weak link in the plan. Out of their long animosity for Peshwas, they leaked the plan to the British and began their negotiations for a favorable deal. The British bribed Nagpur ministers to prolong their stay in Orissa. They reached out to the Nizam and offered financial bailout and restoration of Guntur to him. The Nizam, the original proposer of the plan, silently dropped out of the action. While Marathas and Hyder Ali did their bit, it was not enough to overthrow the British. The British realized the combined might of Indian rulers and hastened their action to uproot them. The first target was Mysore. Though Marathas and Nizam had bigger armies, they were managed conservatively. Hyder Ali, on the other hand, adopted European ideas and was a more potent adversary. But Marathas had no problem with Hyder Ali as he already offered the river Krishna as a border. In the next 3 years, however, Hyder Ali died of cancer. His son and successor Tipu Sultan was aggressive and lacked diplomacy. His aggressive expansion of his territory on the Malabar coast and Kerala alarmed the Marathas and the Nizam. They joined hands with the British to defeat Tipu Sultan. The Mysore ruler tried to rope in the French support but he failed as they were not ready to open hostilities in Europe. Tipu Sultan also wrote of the Ottomans seeking their help in fighting the British. None of his plans fructified and 3 successive wars with the British-led alliance weakened him and killed him. After Tipu's death, the British restored Vodeyars to the Mysore throne. Even while the British were trying to eliminate native powers, a new Sikh kingdom emerged in Punjab in the north. The British, however, did not allow their attention to get diverted from the south. Marathas were still a major power to contend with it in India. Unless Maratha power was diminished, the British knew they cannot get a firm hold in India. So they made use of the internal conflicts of Marathas to weaken them. The British tried to intervene on behalf of Raghunath Rao, the younger brother of Balaji Baji Rao, who was overthrown for murdering his minor nephew, Peshwa Narayan Rao. The 7-year battle, also called First Anglo-Maratha War from 1775 to 1782, resulted in a status quo but bound both the parties to helping each other and not aiding their enemies. Marathas got most of their territories, but they promised to join the British against Mysore and also not to have any alliance with the French. The Second Anglo-British War was invited by the disunity among Maratha generals. After the suicide of Peshwa Savai Madhav Rao, 12-member council headed by Nana Fadnavas installed Baji Rao, the son of fugitive Raghunath Rao, as a puppet Peshwa in 1796. But after the death of Nana Fadnavas 4 years later, Daulat Rao Scindia took control of Peshwa's affairs. The Maratha Confederacy consisted of 5 key players: Peshwa of Pune, Scindias of Gwalior, Holkars of Indore, Bhonsles of Nagpur and Gayakwads of Baroda. The Peshwa in Pune used to play the role of conscience keeper and nominal head. However, with no active player in Pune after the death of Nana Fadnavas, Scindia gained enormous power as he had access to Peshwa's authority as well as his army. This was not acceptable to Yashwant Rao Holkar and marched to Pune as he wanted to get rid of Scindia's troops from Pune. Baji Rao sought Scindia's help, but Holkar defeated the combined army. Facing the reversal in the battlefield, Baji Rao fled Pune and took asylum from the British. He signed a subsidiary alliance with the British, accepting their protection, virtually ending the Maratha Confederacy forever. Other Maratha generals rejected the deal as the Peshwa was only a nominal head, which set off the Second Anglo-Maratha War. All Maratha generals were defeated and had to cede large parts of territory to the British. After 12 years, the Third Anglo-Maratha War was waged. It was fought by Peshwa's army supported by Bhonsles of Nagpur and Holkars of Indore against the British. The Scindias of Gwalior and the Gayakwads of Baroda remained neutral. The Marathas were defeated. The British focused on defeating the Sikh Empire. After the defeat of Marathas and Sikhs, all institutional hindrances which could stop the British from emerging as the paramount power in India were eliminated. After the defeat of the Marathas, the British East India Company became reckless in its pursuit of profit and tried to mold the country as it suited them, causing widespread distress among the public. Governor-General Dalhousie introduced doctrine of lapse to gradually end the rule of native princes, spreading discontentment among the ruling classes. The introduction of cartridges, suspected to have covers made with pig and cow fat, triggered a revolt in Meerut, which spread like a wildfire in Awadh. The rebel British troops forced a reluctant and aged Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar to lead them. Subsequently, several rulers of small native states joined the fight against the British, which was one of very few revolts witnessed against India against rulers. Billed as the First War of Independence, the people's organized fight shocked the British, but they recovered soon and ruthlessly suppressed their opponents. It was one of great efforts to get rid of the British, but it was not supported by the entire south, east and western parts of India. After the victory, the British drew curtains to even the nominal Mughal presence in India. They began to see Muslims with suspicion. The British monarch ended the administration of the East India Company, taking over reins directly and suspending any more territorial expansion of the British in India. In 1861, the Indian Councils Act allowed representatives of non-officials to be part of legislative bodies. Its portfolio system laid the foundations of cabinet government in India. In an attempt to prevent recurrence of the 1857-like revolt, the British administration started installing safety valves for societal pressure. As part of this agenda, it introduced several European administrative steps, including setting up of local courts. The British preferred local language for local courts, which was perfectly fine for all areas except the United Provinces of Agra and Awadh. Because of the presence of political centers like Agra and Lucknow, this region had a large presence of Muslims in urban areas. Muslims in Hindu clerical community Kayastas had been using Persian language written in Arabic script, while people in interiors, who were mostly Hindus, wrote local languages in Devanagari script. While urbanites had accepted the British decision to drop Persian, they wanted the use of local language in Arabic script. The rural communities, who were not well versed in Arabic script, preferred Devanagari. As Hindus lived in villages in great majority in villages, the proposal for Devanagari acquired Hindu colors. Since Muslims were in majority urban areas, their demand for the use of Arabic script was seen a Muslim demand, though Hindu Kayastas were also backing it. While the issue was basically about two groups of people fighting to protect their interest for getting employment, it quickly acquired religious connotation and led to first communal riots in India under British rule. The thought process of viewing Hindus and Muslims as two different nation-states began with this language-linked communal riots. Saeed Ahmad Khan, the son of a noble in the Mughal court, was a pragmatic man. He eschewed dogmatic beliefs in racial superiority and wanted Muslims to accept the English rule. As the British believed that Muslims were the real cause of the 1857 revolt, he tried to change this impression about his fellow Muslims. To get rid of his poverty, he learnt English and joined British service in spite of coming from a Mughal noble family. When his son became the first Muslim to avail of government scholarship for Indians to study in Britain, he visited universities of Oxford and Cambridge and realized the importance of modern education for development. He established Muhammadan Anglo-Oriental College at Aligarh by pooling in donations for several people in 1877. The graduates, who came out from this college, were to become key officials in the 20th century and become the key force for the partition of India and creation of Pakistan. 2 years later, which is 100 years after the thought of expulsion of British rule distilled into the anti-British Confederacy, a major event happened that was going to play a great role in building a popular national movement. In 1879, a top British civil servant, Alan Octavian Hume, who was the Secretary of the Government of India Secretariat, was summarily removed from post over some differences on public interest, which forced him to play an active role in germinating the idea of a nation movement. The introduction of the Ilbert Bill in 1883, at the instance of Viceroy Ripon, which empowered Indian judges to try Europeans in the lower courts, invited fierce opposition from Europeans. This reaction galvanized educated Indians against European discrimination against Indians. Hume, as he was already retired from government service, put his ideas into action by writing a letter to the graduates in Calcutta University, exhorting them to set an agenda for the government. Though several national conferences were conducted by different organizations, the most important event happened in late December 1884 in Madras. 17 people, including Dadabhai Nauroji from Bombay, Surendranath Banerjee from Calcutta, S. Subramanya Iyer from Madras, who came to attend Theosophical Society's annual session at the Mylapore residence of Dewan Bahadur Rai Raghunatha Rao, a prominent Maharashtrian born in Kumbakonam. During the meeting, they decided on exploring the establishment of a national organization. Hume, who was also a member of Theosophical Society, who was traveling to different cities to meet prominent leaders for the same purpose, could not attend the Madras meeting. He also met Viceroy Dufferin and convinced him about the need to have a safety valve to prevent the repeat of the 1857 revolt. On December 27, 1885, 72 delegates attended the first session of the Indian National Congress in Bombay. In its initial phase, the Congress focused on fighting to secure equal rights for people in India and a greater measure of self-government. By their pleadings, the Congress leaders convinced the British to increase the number of non-official members in the Legislative Council in 1892. The Indian Councils Act, 1892, also introduced an indirect election by allowing universities, district boards, municipalities, zamindars, trade bodies and chambers of commerce to recommend members to the provincial councils. This was considered to be the victory of the pre-Gandhi Congress. Viceroy Curzon spoiled this relationship between the Congress and the British. He split the unwieldy province of Bengal, a step which he took based on several previous recommendations. However, when protests erupted across Bengal, he sought to justify it as a move to create a Muslim-majority state, sowing the seed of religion-based division in eastern India. Bengal was on fire with protests across the state. Vande Mataram became a war cry of the protesters. As a result, demands grew for a more aggressive and combative Congress. But leaders like Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Ferozshah Mehta, among others, who got the nickname of moderates, were not in favor of a combative approach. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, Arbindo Ghosh among others, called extremists, preferred action on the street. As differences grew between them, the moderates, who were in majority, expelled extremists from the Congress at its Surat session in 1907. Another aftereffect of strident opposition to the partition of Bengal by educated Bengalis, who were mostly Hindus, was establishment of the All India Muslim League in 1906 in Dhaka. However, it remained mostly an elite organization of land class. Indian Councils Act, 1909, also known as the Morley-Minto Reforms, introduced the election of representatives through an electoral college of local bodies. Muslims were recognized as a separate electorate. For the first time, an Indian joined the Executive Council of the Governor-General. The powers of the legislative councils were increased. This was billed as a victory of moderates. These concessions, however, failed to make Tilak and other expelled Congress leaders happy. So Tilak joined Annie Besant's Home Rule League movement, which demanded a domain status for India within a time frame. Muhammad Ali Jinnah too was one of Home Rule League members. As protests continued in Bengal, the British decided to annual partition to quell dissent in 1911, but as a punishment to educated protesting Bengalis, the capital was shifted from Calcutta to New Delhi. While the popularity of extremists increased among people, top leaders of moderates either grew old or passed away by 1916. Both factions merged again at the Lucknow session under the presidency of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, when he officially gave the call for Swaraj, freedom. While freedom was officially on the Congress agenda, an Indian return from South Africa was going to change the party forever. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, a barrister from London and son of the Dewan of Rajkot, attended the Congress session at Lucknow for the first time as a delegate. He was already popular in India because of his agitations in South Africa. The agitational methods of Gandhi were totally different even when compared to extremists. But people realized that his methods were working at Champaran. Congress sessions used to be dubbed as a 3-day annual festival of educated Indians. So Gandhi forced the Congress to increase its contact with people and successfully converted the party into a real national organization. The First World War created shortages of every kind across the world. It created further discontentment among people, boosting the Congress goals. While the British treated India as just a market, the First World War forced it to revise and encourage Indian manufacturing units to boost war supplies, which effectively created a comparatively larger middle class and entrepreneur base. After the victory in the First World War, the British broke up the defeated Ottoman Empire, creating several smaller Muslim nations like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, etc. Adding salt to wounds, Turkey's leader Mustafa Kemal, who himself was a Muslim, abolished the institution of Caliph or Khalifa, leader of Muslim world, the position that the Ottoman emperor held. Muslims in India blamed the British for the abolishment of Khilafat and organized protests against the British in India. In an attempt to close ranks with Muslims to create a unified opposition to the British and prevent the colonists from pursuing the divide and rule policy, Gandhi got the Congress to support the Muslims' demand for the restoration of Khilafat. Though Muhammad Ali Jinnah opposed the use of religion in politics, the Congress supported the move. The initiative proved immensely successful, but Jinnah quit the Congress and retired to London to pursue his law practice. Government of India Act, 1919, which was based on the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, was the result of growing demand for popular representation in the law-making process. It introduced a direct election, with highly restricted voters selected on the basis of property, tax or education. The Legislative Council at the centre was replaced by a bicameral system consisting of an upper house and a lower house. Apart from Muslims, separate electorates were introduced for Sikhs, Christians and Anglo-Indians. The Act introduced Dyachi in the provinces, which allowed Indians to be part of administration as ministers for people-centric subjects like public health, education, agriculture, local self-government etc. Finance, law and order, army, police were reserved for the governor. India's freedom struggle was long drawn and multifaceted. The Congress devised several agitations. Some were successful, while some weren't. While Congress was the mainstay of the Indian freedom movement, there were many individuals and organizations who were working directly or indirectly as per their own understanding of the situation in the country. Revolutionaries, armed groups, cultural organizations, teachers, and also business people worked towards either creating awareness against the British atrocities or inspiring people to fight against such injustices. As culmination of all these efforts, the British brought in the Government of India Act, 1935, which allowed Indians to join the government through the system of Dyachi at the federal level. The federal legislature was to have two chambers, the Council of States and the Federal Legislative. Autonomy was granted to provincial governments. Communal electorates were extended to depressed classes, women and labor. The Second World War was the testing time for the British. Being its largest overseas territory, the British expected India to play a major role in the war efforts. While Indian industry supported fully, the Congress made its agreement conditional on setting India free immediately. The British rejected the demand and went ahead with war efforts without any further consultation. As a result, when Congress announced a Quit India campaign in August 1942, the British clamped it down by arresting tens of thousands of its leaders. But the movement was led by second-rung leaders, indicating the popularity of the freedom cause. Subhash Chandra Bose, one of top Congress leaders, escaped from house arrest and visited the anti-British countries like Germany and Japan. He sought their assistance to fight the British militarily in India. Japan agreed to help him. Bose revived the Indian National Army, which was set up by Rash Bihari Bose in 1942, using Indian prisoners of war in Singapore. As the British-led Allied forces won the Second World War, 12,000 INA soldiers were captured and brought to Delhi for trial. However, the public viewed them as real patriots and protests began across India. Communal divisions ceased to exist. Congress and Muslim League called for the release of soldiers. The Congress, which had greater resources in law, deployed its battery of legal brains led by Jawaharlal Nehru, who argued against court-martial. The revolt of naval ratings in Mumbai was the last nail in the coffin for British rule in India. Navy ratings went on strike on February 18, 1946, for better living conditions and better food. The strike quickly spread to other places like Madras, Karachi and Calcutta, involving 10,000 sailors and 56 ships. Some soldiers of the British Indian Army in Pune and Madras defied orders of superiors. The British, which had just won the Second World War, pressed into service a bigger force against revolting naval ratings. In an attempt to avoid a war when independence was so close, Congress leader Sardar Patel and Muslim League's M.A. Jinnah prevented the situation from a further escalation. The Navy ratings surrendered and some of them were dismissed on February 25. This incident, however, shattered the British's confidence in the loyalty of Indian troops. Within 1 month, on March 14, 1946, the British government offered independence to India. The formal process for Indian independence began on May 16, 1946, when the British government issued a report recommending the formation of an interim government to draft a constitution. In 1946, a cabinet mission arrived in India to discuss transferring power from the British government to the Indian political leadership. The mission's goal was to preserve India's unity and grant its independence. The mission offered a unified India with a weak federal government and states having overriding powers. The Muslim League agreed to the plan, but sought freedom for states to form groups. The Congress, however, rejected a country with a weaker federal government. The logjam was solved with the partition of India to create a new Muslim-majority nation called Pakistan. The partition resulted in unheard-of communal violence in Punjab and Bengal. Thousands of people were massacred, leaving unerasable scars on the Indian psyche. On August 14, 1947, Pakistan became independent. A day after, on August 15, India got its hard-earned liberation, making its people, in Rabindranath Tagore's words, the country's Bhagya Vidtas.